You know that episode of SpongeBob where Squidward says that he vehemently hates Krabby Patties in spite of the fact that he's never even tried one? And then when he does, he finds out that he loves it and goes completely overboard, making an ass out of himself? I'm telling you, man, classic episode. Huh? Oh, why am I bringing it up?
Oh, no reason in particular.
Vtubers, am I right? So the story of how I got into Vtubers is probably similar to a lot of people, so I'm not going to bore you with very much detail beyond, oh man, Vtubers are cringe, except this one, she's actually pretty cool. Oh, and so are these people that they collabed with, and etc, 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 until we get to the point that I ended up making a second YouTube channel for my own personal use because I had subscribed to so many that it was getting impossible to find actual videos on my subscriptions page, and now I spend an embarrassing amount of time proselytizing everybody I know in hopes that I can convert those who were as ignorant as I once was. With all that said, though, I'm not exactly proud to admit that there was a lot of stumbling along the way. I, like so many others, started out as a fan of Hololive at first, specifically Maury Calliope, and I was thinking that because I enjoyed Hololive, but I used to think VTubers were cringe as hell, it obviously couldn't have just been that I was wrong before. No. Obviously every VTuber outside of Hololive was just giving the industry a bad name and making VTuber fans look like a bunch of pathetic simps who only watch because we're thirsting over pretend anime girls.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
Especially the ones at Vshojo. Christ, they're obviously out there just to make a quick buck by putting out horny bait. This is, of course, completely ignoring the irony of the fact that one of my favorite VTubers in all of Hololive is the supreme horny bait that is Vshojo Marine.
I'm horny!
And obviously, in the time since then, I've come a long way and realized how stupid I was acting. There's definitely no group of VTubers that I owe more of an apology to than the aforementioned members of Vshojo, especially since they now contain several members of my own personal top 5 VTubers of all time list. Life sure is funny. The thing is, though, VTubers do tend to have a bit of an optics problem. Being seen by people not already in the rabbit hole is nothing but pandering to pathetic weirdos who just need to go out and touch grass, and from a distance I definitely saw Vshojo as largely feeding into that perception. Again, it's perfectly fair to say that this is really hypocritical given that my introduction to VTubers was through Hololive, an organization that is largely rooted in idol culture, and yeah, no, there's definitely hypocrisy at play there, especially since I didn't even watch any actual content from Vshojo, and those lewd clips were the only ones that ever got recommended to me. So it was easy to point out the variety of content styles in the Hololive roster while writing off Vshojo as nothing but horny bait because those clips were the only ones that made it into my recommendations. Now this is either sad, hilarious, or infuriating depending on your own personal perception because I do actually like the occasional horny bait, I'm not gonna lie about that. Not from the Clippers, obviously, that shit's really annoying when I'm just trying to browse my feed, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like there isn't an sound playing in my head just about every time Zentreya gets a new outfit. The problem for me is that I didn't want people to think that the horny side is all there is to VTubing, and again, it's impossible to discuss this without bringing up my own hypocrisy on the matter. I do generally consider myself a pretty progressive person, so I'm obviously in favor of women owning their own sexuality. It's frankly kind of dumb that even if Vshojo were purely selling themselves on sex appeal, that I would construe it as a bad thing just because it might make me look bad in the eyes of others. I mean, shit, dude. I already owned up to not being the smartest peanut in the turd. I went to public school in Texas in the 90s and early 2000s. It's a miracle I can spell my own name. And while I would love to tell you that there was some revelatory Ratatouille moment that caused my eyes to open and realize what a fool I'd been, life doesn't usually tend to make for interesting YouTube videos. Instead, it just kind of worked out that I ended up getting fed more clips of Iron Mouse being into really cool stuff like Kamen Rider that made me think, oh shit, based. And in addition to this, there were just a lot of clips of her interacting with Seadog VA, which as a lapsed fan of Trash Taste made me think, wait, I thought Connor hated VTubers. I don't remember if it was the first clip I had watched, but at least one of the first clips was the one where Connor is taking Mouse on a stream tour of some Japanese shops, and they wind up in a store that's selling Kamen Rider goods. Seeing Mousy light up and name all of the different henshin belts and then having Connor offer to buy them for her was such just a 1-2 punch of sweet moments that it buried itself deep into a pocket of my brain that to this day I still consult when I need a dose of serotonin. Of course Mouse was just a real person, and here I had been dismissing her without having actually watched any of her content. And As a wise Australian once said,
There's nothing worse than people who condemn from ignorance, with the possible exception of people who attempt to masturbate their sexual partners after eating buffalo wings.
like I'm sure is the case for so many others, these clips of Connor and Mouse just interacting and being friends quickly became some of my absolute favorites. The two of them just have this incredible natural chemistry as entertainers that makes it just a joy to watch them interact.
Stop making everybody think I'm the one that begs you to hang out with me. When we talk alone, you're like, yeah, we're gonna play and hang out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you're on stream, you act like I'm like some like stupid little animal chasing you.
Like a Labrador.
I'm not Labrador. You asked me things. Scream. And make it never happen.
And before I knew it, I was just devouring every clip that made its way into my recommendations, which, if you're not a fan of VTubers, and if so, thanks for watching this far, I guess, tends to be a lot. They're like roaches. You let one in, and then you're just never free. And as somebody whose prior exposure to VTubers through this was mostly HoloLive with a small sprinkling of members of Niji Sanji, there's another major benefit to watching Vshojo that I wasn't expecting, and that would be the official YouTube channel where they post hyper-condensed versions of the streams with all the chaff cut out and great editing that emphasizes the more funny moments. For my ADHD ass that only ever really puts on streams as background noise, these are a godsend because it allows me to only see, the absolute best and funniest bits from any given stream.
5 days until the party? Alfredo, what did he do this time? He locked you in your room again. Don't be scared. I am here with you. Oh, I'm a crying child. These are my friends. Please help me. I'm so scared. Wait, his eyes are following me. Let me out of here! Tomorrow is another day. Oh my god, have I been kidnapped?
I absolutely love that Mouse and some of the other girls do this, and I honestly just really wish a lot more VTubers did it. I mean, obviously, Mouse and the Vshojo girls are probably not the first ones to ever think of doing this, but it is something I really do appreciate that they do. The amount of times after a long day of work that my wife and I have just sat down, turned on the TV, and saw that there was a new video from one of the girls in our subscription feed, I mean, it's just nice, and it's always good for a few laughs. And while I don't want this video to be some blowy load of claptrap where I just spend the entire time praising the mouse like some sort of alternate universe Disney adult, I'm emphasizing all this just to illustrate how dumb I was for not giving her a chance due to idiotic idol culture-minded tribalism. Mouse is an incredible entertainer who has overcome so much in her life and come out on the other side as this strong and genuinely hilarious person. Her charity work alone has cemented her legacy in the VTubing world and beyond, and her winning Content Creator of the Year at the last Game Awards was more than earned. Plus, she's a feisty Latina, and as a Latinian myself, I love it when she breaks out the rapid-fire Spanish.
I just love Latinas, Sonic. What? Adios, amigo.
But, as I said, Vshojo is obviously more than one content creator, and while Mouse was the person whose content drew me in, the other members are the ones who soon made me fully aware of exactly how much I had been missing out on. Without spending the rest of this video just talking about what makes each member so great, I cannot move on in good conscience without at least touching on the VTuber who went from being not even on my radar to being, in my opinion, one of the best to ever do it, and that is of course Zentreya. You see, Zen has this gimmick that is altogether unique from any other VTuber I'd seen up to that point. She has a voice-to-text to text-to-speech engine so that whenever she's talking, whatever she's saying at any given time is caught by her computer, uploaded as text, and then read out as a synthesized voice on her stream. And yet somehow, either in spite of this, or maybe even because of it, Zen is easily one of the most expressive VTubers I have ever watched.
Everything's cool. Everything's fine.
Sorry, Mommy?
So yes, as you can see, there has been an update to the 3D. Well, if you have a look here. Incinerate that
Now, part of this comes from the absolutely bug-nuts insane facial tracking her models have that allow her to have this huge range of expressions, and since she streams so much in 3D, you actually get to see her crazy pantomime skills and her huge range of movement. And Zen's ability to get so much expressiveness out of the limitations of a VTuber model is reminiscent of some of the absolute best of suit acting in tokusatsu. Now, talent already at Vshojo when I started to follow the company has already made enough of the name for them that I could honestly stop the video right here and still feel like I have made my point. But in order to talk about exactly why I've come to love Vshojo so much, there is one point I have to discuss. But in order to do that, I am going to have to break kayfabe. So for those familiar with Vshojo, you probably already know what I'm about to discuss, and these are more or less open secrets to begin with, but if you do want to remain completely ignorant of the previous careers of certain Vshojo members, I would suggest you stop the video now, and maybe come back in like a year or two, because I think eventually every VTuber fan reaches the point where they stop super caring about immersion breaks. Hey, so, Editing Steven here. I am, recording this little extra tidbit on the 15th of February, because I just want to pop in before we move on to the next section, and say that audio for this episode was by and large recorded right as the news regarding the Selen/Dokibird situation, came out. And since then, it's pretty obvious that the situation has gotten a lot worse. And since I mentioned Niji Sanji a couple of times in the section I'm about to mention, I feel like I really just want to double down, because I don't really do much decrying in here, and I don't want to take this as any sort of like tacit endorsement. I don't want to downplay exactly how important it is that not only did Selen/Nina, or like Selen/Dokibird and Nina/Matara and Mista/Kuro, like, I don't want to downplay how important it is that they got out of what is, well, we are rapidly becoming more and more aware of the fact that it is just, I mean, I'll say it, a black company. It's absolutely horrible. And yeah, no, I wouldn't feel right making the rest of this video without at least saying something. And with that out of the way, let's get back to the video. So, before I got into Vshojo, my favorite VTuber, full stop, was Nina Kosaka.
Why are all the hot women married already? What the heck?
A former member of Niji Sanji EN, Nina had a vibe all her own that was just so much fun to watch. Known to fans as Niji Sanji's Fox Mom, she lived up to the role in all of the best ways. She had this goofy vibe where she would always, constantly mispronounce things on purpose. She would call YouTube the YouTubes and Twitch the Twitch television. And she also had a very boomer taste in games in the best way. She was silly, she was fun, and she had this kind of wine mom energy that anyone who's seen my previous videos would know meant that I was always destined to become a fan. To this day, Nina's unarchived car karaoke stream remains one of my absolute favorite things I have ever watched, and it kills me that the only proof I have left of its existence is this short teaser.
Vroom vroom, honey, I'm coming to ya. I heard you was having a bad day. I heard you weren't feeling too good, so I'm coming to pick you up in my car. We're gonna go to the McDonald's, and we're gonna talk and we're gonna sing, okay? See you in 2 hours! Mwah.
And as if I didn't already have enough reasons to be a fan, she was also starting to get into Warhammer 40k, something I was not expecting but was way too excited to see. And then she was gone. We woke up one day to see an announcement on Nina's Twitter that she was going to be leaving the company. As with most Corpo VTuber graduation posts, the reasons were somewhat vague, but regardless of the reasons, this was it. No more Fox Mob. That is, until October 12th, 2023, when a video was uploaded to the official Vshojo channel. Coming soon to a Twitch television near you. Matara Khan, with a zoom out at the end showing a hand reaching for a glass of red wine. I wanted to believe it, but I didn't want to let myself be hurt. So I waited with bated breath, hoping against hope. I still remember the day of Matara's debut. I was sitting in my car with some friends outside of Chili's waiting to meet up with other friends of ours who weren't there yet, and I got the notification that Mata had gone live. So I apologized to everyone in the car, saying I would just put on the stream for a few seconds because I needed to confirm a suspicion. And as soon as I did, I heard a voice that I was thinking that I would never hear again.
Well, listen, honey. If you are worried that I will disappear forever, I am here to reassure you that I will remain a prevalent part of your lives. Just in a different way. A much more casual and carefree way. Instead of being at the whims of trends and markets, I will no longer be on the big screen. I will now be on the smaller screen of your PC monitor, or the even smaller screen of your mobile phone.
And all I could think was,
you're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
Mom had come back from the store with the milk, and she wasn't alone. You see, Mata was neither the first nor the last VTuber to end up leaving their original talent agency, only to find a second life at Vshojo. K9 Kuro, Henya, Kason, and Nazuna were all members that had come from other talent agencies before finding a new home at the House of Mouse. And while going into the exact details of what led to each of their initial departures is frankly far too heavy a series of subjects for me to want to cover in a video like this, pretty much all of them found themselves in less than enviable positions, and I would highly recommend listening to Kuro's story in particular because it really highlights exactly how much Gunrun and Mouse were able to do for him, without him joining the company being something that even any of them were considering at the time. They were just good people who saw that a friend was hurting and in need, and they stepped in to help. And that's the kind of thing that made me end up becoming such a ride-or-die fan of Vshojo. This group of incredibly talented entertainers that I had once so casually written off for incredibly vapid reasons was not only full of their own unique talents who all stood tall on their own merits, but they just also had this huge collective heart, becoming an adoption house for abandoned VTubers. It's heartwarming to see so many people get a second chance because of how compassionate the people behind the scenes are, to the point that when MatPat announced he was stepping down from hosting Game Theory, members of the community and even Mouse herself started joking that he would end up being the next person to join.
Guys, yeah, cat's out of the bag. MatPat's coming to Vshojo, guys. You figured it out. He's coming to Vshojo, bros.
I don't know what the future holds for Vshojo and the talents who call it their home, but I can tell you I'm excited to see where it goes. This eclectic found family of highly talented individuals creating something entirely unique while acting as a central pillar of the English-speaking VTuber world, I can only see the Vshojo star burning brighter as time goes on. So, for my ignorance in the early days of my journey as a VTuber fan, and from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry, Vshojo. Though I started out as an annoying detractor, I am now proud to call myself an annoying fanboy. And for everyone else, I just want to say thank you for watching this video. If you're a VTuber fan, let me know in the comments who your favorite VTuber is. If you're not a VTuber fan, then go check out the Vshojo girls. They're all really cool and well deserving of your attention. But before that, I would actually like to ask you to go ahead and hit that like button for me and watch at least one more video from me before you go. I highly recommend my 10 awesome things from 2023 video. Give it a watch, you might end up getting turned on to some cool stuff that you might not have otherwise heard of. But for now, I am going to take my leave, so just remember that this has been a powerfully pointless video, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways. Okay, the Vshojo video. I've wanted to talk about VTubers for a while now. Just sort of talking about how I went from being really annoyed by VTubers to thinking that they're cool. And the more I thought about that, the more I realized that the video needed to be about Vshojo specifically, because, man, I talked a lot of shit, and I'm not the kind of person who, like, talks shit publicly at all now. Like, it was a lot of, like, just, like, being annoyed privately. And as I said in the video, it's really stupid because, I didn't really go out of my way to watch any of the content. I saw a couple of out-of-context clips that gave me a certain type of impression, and then I was like, oh, well, fuck this noise. And so I wrote them off for the longest time, but eventually I ended up becoming more interested in seeing clips from Iron Mouse, and Iron Mouse led to Zentreya, and then those two led to the rest of Vshojo, and then their collabs with VTubers outside of Vshojo led me to more cool VTubers like Buff Pup and Rose Doodle, and now, I mean, it's gotten to the point where, hey, my wife is an indie VTuber. Honestly, VTubing is just such a cool thing that could really only exist in the modern age. And it's kind of crazy to see exactly just how much it exploded since the days of Kizuna Ai. So, I mean, I hope this video was sufficient to sort of just get out my feelings on VTubing. And if you watched this and have never seen a VTuber before, like I said, the Vshojo girls are great. I would specifically recommend going to either Iron Mouse or Zentreya's YouTube channels and just watching some of their clip compilations. Matara as well, obviously. I love Matara, but, maybe she's not for everybody. I don't know. She's definitely, as we kids in the VTubers sphere say, she is my Oshi. God. One of the working titles for this video was going to be Learning to Embrace the Cringe. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, because it's kind of funny. There is definitely a cringeworthy aspect to VTuber fan culture, but I think we're all in on the joke. We all have fun with it. So yeah, I mean, that's more or less all I have to say. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.